Imagine this: after 2 years of relentless bloodshed, the skies over Gaza finally go quiet. Hostages are coming home, soldiers are pulling back, and the world holds its breath. But behind the smiles and handshakes lies a storm of political calculation, global power games, and quiet rivalries in Washington itself. This isn't just a ceasefire, it's a battle for credit, control, and legacy. And believe it or not, the story of this deal involves Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and some of the most unlikely diplomatic twists you'll ever hear. So buckle in, because what just happened in Gaza might change global politics for years to come. The Gaza conflict began with an explosion of violence in October 2023, when Hamas fighters stormed into Israel, killing and kidnapping civilians. Israel's military response was swift and devastating. Gaza was pounded for months, and what followed was one of the longest and most destructive wars in the region's modern history. More than 30,000 people were killed, millions displaced, and the humanitarian crisis reached unbearable levels. For 2 long years, the world pleaded for a ceasefire. Presidents came and went, mediators flew in and out, and peace talks failed one after another. Until now. Just this week, after months of secret back-channel negotiations, Israel and Hamas agreed to what's being called the first phase of the Gaza peace deal, a deal brokered by none other than President Donald Trump. According to the terms, Hamas has released the remaining 20 Israeli hostages still alive from the 2023 attacks. In exchange, Israel freed roughly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and agreed to pull its troops back to a new defensive line inside Gaza. For the first time in 2 years, the guns have fallen silent. But don't mistake this for an end to the war. Both sides still claim victory. Israel insists it has dismantled Hamas militarily and will maintain control over more than half of Gaza's territory. Hamas, meanwhile, says it has survived, that it remains the legitimate power in Gaza, armed and unbroken. In other words, both sides got just enough to declare success to their supporters. Whether this fragile truce holds will depend on what happens next. The announcement came at the Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit, a glittering gathering of nearly 30 world leaders. Cameras flashed as Donald Trump stood on stage alongside Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and other international representatives to unveil what he called the Trump Declaration for Enduring Peace and Prosperity. Ironically, neither Israel nor Hamas attended in person, but both had signed off behind the scenes. The symbolism was powerful, Trump back in the global spotlight, playing the role of peacemaker on the world stage. His supporters hailed it as proof that he alone could restore order where others had failed. Even some of his critics admitted that, for now at least, diplomacy had triumphed over destruction. Trump's involvement has been described as part statesmanship, part showmanship. In the days leading up to the summit, he addressed Israel's parliament, the Knesset, declaring that Israel had won the war and should now win the peace. The speech was met with thunderous applause. Behind the scenes, his son-in-law Jared Kushner and a network of envoys pushed hard to get regional powers like Egypt and Qatar to sign onto the plan. Trump's team insists the deal is a new framework for long-term stability, what he calls a roadmap to peace through strength. His critics, however, see something different, a man obsessed with reclaiming the foreign policy spotlight ahead of the next election. Yet here's where the story gets messy. Inside Washington, the Biden-Harris team is not letting Trump take all the credit. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has openly said that the Trump deal was built on foundations laid by the previous administration. Biden himself congratulated Trump, but not without a subtle reminder, saying, "The road was not easy. My administration worked relentlessly to prepare the groundwork for this outcome." Even Vice President Kamala Harris released a carefully worded statement praising the president and his team for the breakthrough, notably without mentioning Trump by name. It was diplomacy layered over politics, and politics layered over pride. This quiet credit war reveals how deeply divided the U.S. remains even when it comes to global peace efforts. On one side, Trump is using the Gaza deal as proof that his America First approach still commands results, that he can deliver peace where traditional diplomats failed. On the other, Democrats are trying to frame the deal as the culmination of years of bipartisan groundwork, rather than a one-man show. What's clear, though, is that both parties recognize the geopolitical significance. For the first time in years, Washington's influence in the Middle East seems revitalized, even if for conflicting reasons. But beneath all the political theater, experts warn the deal is dangerously fragile. Hamas has already announced it will not surrender its weapons or control of Gaza. Israel has agreed to withdraw, but only partially. The so-called peace zone covers roughly half of Gaza, while the other half remains a gray area under de facto Israeli supervision. Humanitarian aid is supposed to flow freely, but aid agencies are reporting delays at the Rafah crossing, where bureaucracy and mistrust are choking deliveries. On paper, the agreement promises reconstruction and oversight by an international board of peace, made up of the US, European Union, and regional partners. In practice, that board doesn't yet exist. It's an idea, not a government. And without real administration on the ground, Gaza risks falling into a governance vacuum, one that extremist factions could quickly exploit. That's the part of the story few headlines mention. The real challenge isn't ending the war, it's building the peace. Even if the guns stay silent, who will run Gaza tomorrow? Will it be Hamas, clinging to power and claiming victory? The Palestinian Authority, trying to make a comeback after years of irrelevance? Or a new coalition of technocrats and international monitors? None of these options are simple, and each carries explosive potential. Without clear leadership, Gaza could descend into chaos again, or worse, civil conflict between rival Palestinian factions. And then there's the regional picture. Iran and its proxies, including Hezbollah, are watching closely. Any perception of weakness from Hamas or Israel could trigger new provocations. In Israel itself, Prime Minister Netanyahu faces enormous political pressure. The return of hostages has lifted morale, but hardliners are furious about prisoner releases. If Netanyahu's coalition fractures, domestic politics could derail the ceasefire entirely. Meanwhile, Arab states like Egypt, Qatar, and Jordan are balancing hope with skepticism, wary of being pulled into another round of blame if the deal collapses. For the United States, the stakes are enormous. The Gaza ceasefire is more than a regional truce. It's a test of whether America can still shape world events in an age of rising multipolar power. Trump's administration wants this to be his legacy-defining moment, the day he achieved peace where others failed. Biden's camp wants history to remember this as a bipartisan success born of long-term diplomacy. But for the people of Gaza and Israel, the political point scoring in Washington means little. What matters is whether the ceasefire holds, whether aid arrives, families return, and daily life resumes. For now, the images are powerful. Hostages reunited with loved ones, soldiers embracing their families, aid convoys rolling through damaged streets. It feels like the first breath after years of suffocation. But the silence can be deceptive. Even as global leaders celebrate, intelligence agencies are warning that militant groups may already be rearming, preparing for the next round. Peace, as always, is the most fragile victory of all. So what happens next? Watch the key indicators. Will the hostages all return safely? Will the prisoner releases continue without new violence? Will humanitarian corridors stay open? And most importantly, who will govern Gaza 6 months from now? These questions will determine whether this moment becomes a turning point in Middle East history, or just another chapter in a cycle of broken promises. What's undeniable is that the world is watching, and for now, at least, the guns are quiet. The Sharm el-Sheikh summit might mark the beginning of a new political reality, one where even sworn enemies can shake hands, however briefly, under the shadow of exhaustion. Whether it's a genuine peace or just a strategic pause remains to be seen. But as one diplomat whispered off camera, even a temporary silence can save lives. And sometimes, that's where real peace begins. So what do you think? Is this the dawn of a new era for Gaza, or just another political illusion? Can Trump's deal really hold, or will history repeat itself once again? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, because the story of this ceasefire is only just beginning, and the next chapter could shake the world once more.